I think that the topic is really, relevant. Actually, it's really highly, people are highly attentive these days. I think that U.S.-China relations among war in Ukraine is really probably a very timely subject, as we can see that now this war has broken out for over 2 months now, and it's greatly changed the world landscape and probably changed forever. And also, the globalization really has a big setback. We have been since last 77 years, since the Bretton Woods system being established. In the last 77 years, we have seen a world progress and prosperous, and hundreds of times of increase in trade and prosperity, and also biggest in Asia, and China is one of the also great stories on that. So the early system, like the U.S. used to lead on this system, like a World Bank, IMF, WTO, and first generation of global governance, is now the U.S. is not really that kind of active. The U.S. has created the TPP, has threatened to quit WTO, and then shifted more attention now on the actually secure alliance. I mean, we see NATO has been really strengthened, has expanded 5 times, in the East world, and also we have seen the 5 eyes of more tightening cooperation, and then we have seen AUKUS is more focused on the nuclear submarine. I mean, in Pacific region, and then we see Quad, whereas probably a mini NATO is establishing there, a security alliance as well. So that kind of trend is really alarming, and also not really healthy, I think, because I think the world is really needs to be more continue the upgrade on the economic side, because we see that RCEP has been taking off, the largest free trade agreement, and then we see that China is really wants to promote in the economic globalization. So I think there's some NATO is led by U.S. So Sino-U.S. relation is really affecting this China-U.S. relations in many ways, and so I think how can we really got that is really a key issue. So this Ukraine is just a battleground. It's really Russia against NATO probably, and China is the only country that not involved in both ways. And so there's quite a lot of a role that probably China can play to mediate this conflict. What I think China has been doing is probably should be more emphasized in the future. For example, really focus on economic. China contributes over 1/3 of global GDP growth, and China now is really launching this big Belt and Road Initiative, is more economic initiative. China has set up AIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, that really infrastructure now has become a common, really consensus of all US, EU now. Everybody wants to do infrastructure. B3W, EU Global Gateway. And now we have also RCEP, which is trade effective, and then China's trade with ASEAN now become the largest trading partner. And also, of course, China wants to join CPTPP, a trade scheme designed by the US. So China wants to upgrade. And also China has signed a big investment treaty with EU. And China is doing a big cooperation agreement with African, and then of course on the pandemic fighting and many other things. So what I'm saying is that, of course, there's many different views on China-US relations, and also different views on the Ukraine and China, position. But I think this economic alliance versus the military secure alliance probably is more important than that's really can secure our integration, prosperity, and really connecting us together rather than dividing. Now every country is driving up a military budget, which is not healthy. So just to conclude, I want to say that I understand, there's concern, there's worries, but but let's really expand the economic cooperation rather than the military cooperation or security alliance. This is the key to solve those issues. China does not, export, refugee or famine, or China contribute over 1/3 of GDP growth. So probably, China has never sent a soldier anywhere in the world, never colonized any places. China is always a peace-loving country. So I think, we probably should really focus more on economics rather than military. Because unfortunately, I think this war happened in Ukraine, which is, of course, China has said very strongly that any country's integrity and sovereignty should be respected. Ukraine is no exception. So that is already very strong. And even though there's a friendship with US, with Russian, but there's a bottom line. There's a UN charter and UN principles there. So that position has been made very clear. So I think that China does not support Russia economically or militarily. I think that China is in a good position to help the international community to seek a peaceful end to the crisis.
The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you, Winston, and thanks for the view shared. I think there's probably a big, miss that China would gain from this Ukraine-Russian conflict or this invasion going on. But basically, China's economic interest, as I said in my New York Times op-ed, is actually 10 or 20 times larger. The China's trade with Russian and China's trade with West is 1 in 20 times. That China would not lose that big economic benefit. And China is the largest trading nation with 130 countries. I mean, just imagine the world is not really functioning well, not with this Ukraine and Russian crisis. It's greatly impacted the world. I mean, Europe is going to suffer, I'm sure, very soon now, if not now. And US is also going to be impacted as well. The whole world is going to be impacted. For example, the energy prices has all gone up, and 73% of China energy depends on import. If this Ukraine war continues, that will drive up billions, if not the trillions of extra cost to China. And also, furthermore, there's Ukraine and Russia counts about 25% of the global grain export. Again, China is one of the largest import of grain food as well. So all those is not in China's interest to see this war continue. And it's also rightly mentioned, but Belt and Road goes through Russia and the Ukraine. I mean, now it probably stopped already. The EU-China railways is not functioning that because of this war. And Ukraine is also, China has good relations with Russia and Ukraine, and Ukraine is the Belt and Road signing country and has many years of good relations. So there's no interest for China to see this war continue or really China would benefit that. No, I mean, this is really bad for China. And if also just in Ukraine alone, all those infrastructure China has been putting up, the airports and roads and all the other facilities, China probably lost, on the BOT basis, China already lost, that if not billion, probably 10 billion, whatever, US dollars there already, so that's a huge loss for China. So the reason that China doesn't want to see the sanction that continues to be applied, because that is not good for any country. It doesn't work anywhere in the world in history. China itself is now being sanctioned by the US. Over 1,000 companies from China is being on entity or some kind of watchable list by the US. So China has the empathy for the Russian on this sanction, because sanction doesn't work. And sanction only can bring the world into a recession and will make world a chaotic place on top of pandemic, trouble crisis we're having right now. So anyway, so I think the logic is there. China doesn't want to see this war happen, and I would like to see a peaceful end. I propose as well. I mean, I see that can be worked out. P5 in the UN plus EU plus Ukraine. Why not we have a 7-party talks and talk about immediate ceasefire? And if Ukraine does not want to join NATO, and if NATO doesn't want to admit Ukraine into it, I mean, the big issue is there. Let's talk about that, and let's gradually have a peace plan for the Europe and for the security. So I think G20 or G7, whatever, or let's have a 7-party talk of P5 plus China plus EU, just like we did on the 6-party talk, would be great. I mean, would really make things further, and China would happy to get involved, I suppose. And finally, on the issue of Taiwan, I mean, same thing. I think this Ukraine crisis in the Russian-Ukraine conflict really, serve as a alarming bell for both Taiwan and probably U.S. and including people, everywhere in the world, because it's not going to be, this kind of hundreds of times of maneuver, Navy ships in the neighborhood of South China Sea or Taiwan Strait. China has to respond, flying over whatever. Many times. I mean, yesterday the defense minister of U.S. and Chinese defense minister just had phone calls because there's a lot of flying over or the visits of U.S. congressmen, has been intensified, and that is really a provocation to the Chinese and the status quo that we've been seeing that for the last 5 decades or 4 decades since diplomatic times. So those things, China was merely responding basically. But it's really dangerous if U.S. does not want to involve in the Ukraine directly. I don't see why U.S. wants to involve in Taiwan directly. So let's not provoke each other and then really getting things out of control, because we are really facing a very dangerous moment and the brink of the Third World War perhaps. I mean, Russia just launched its huge long-range missile yesterday, and it's not really, we're talking about just a conventional war now. It's really, things can get out of control. So the rational, the common sense, and the economic common sense should return. I mean, let's really focus on that. And I think China has done is right. Focus on Belt and Road economic. Focus on economic agreement with EU and also with US. China also said wants to work with US on the B3W. Why not BRI and B3W work together? And the EU Global Gateway work together on the infrastructure. I mean, the world infrastructure is crumbling, particularly in many countries, developing countries, including developed countries. China is the best in the world. Why not we work on that? And on top of climate change and pandemic, I mean, let's all have that. So I think it's really important that we are focusing, let's getting on the big economic pies rather than the military budget, so that if that continues, I would see a very dangerous world ahead of us. Thank you. I think it's a good question. As a matter of fact, we are looking at it as a war now. I mean, this war has gone mad. People started, fighting and a large scale that we haven't seen in a lifetime. So this is really terrifying, and we are facing a nuclear threat. Nuclear button is highly alert now. So what it's as I said at the beginning, it's not in nobody's interest, particularly in China's interest. China has more high skyscrapers in any other country in the world. Have half of the world high skyscrapers now in China. Infrastructure. China has the longest. Ocean bridges, have the largest dam in the world. What's the point of China sees the world going down? No, China, contributed a third of global GDP growth. But again, now, Putin has started this invasion, and then everybody said, okay, China has a good relation, but China has no military alliance with Russia. The only thing is that, of course, China is the only party not involved directly in this conflict. I was on just over the weekend with a global agenda on NHK, and in Premier, Eurasia president, he said, this is not a war, between Russia and Ukraine. This is a war between Russia and NATO. So all the EU and most of the EU and US is in direct confrontation. Ukraine is just the battleground, is the agent. China, on the other hand, is not involved in this war. So it's really a third party, not involved in both sides, and has good relations. On the one hand, has good political relation with Russia. On the other, has a more good economic relation with West. Like it or not, it's our largest trading partners. So China wants to really, make sure that this war there's not in China's interest this happen. But again, let's think about it. If two guys involved in the fighting, do you expect them to talk by themselves and then calm down? Just like two guys fighting in the street. You say, okay, stop fight, you two talk. I mean, it's going to escalate. It's going to only to get really worse, and escalate. But if there's a third party come, say, hi guys, don't fight. Let's calm down. And this guy is credible. This guy is not involved in the fighting on both sides. And then is a friend of both sides, maybe to some extent. And particularly for Putin, if he wants to gracefully calm down, if he wants to really back out of this, he needs somebody to say, okay, somebody told me to back up. Okay, I'm taking his advice. I'll give him a face to do that. He needs something like that. So I think that it's important that UN, should be safeguarded. UN Charter, UN principle, sovereignty, integrity. But let's really use UN and play some role. First, have an immediate ceasefire. Of course, the ceasefire is important. Then let's have 7-party talks for a number of rounds in Geneva, elsewhere, Brussels, Washington, Moscow, Beijing. Let's really see, how we can build a lasting peace to that. But that's really important. But the utmost is really stop fighting and immediately, and have the critical player to come in to stop that. Thank you.
Henry, just very briefly to press on the point, will Chinese leadership, President Xi Jinping gave the directive saying, let's proactively engage in the mediating role to bring NATO, Russia, Ukraine together. Would China be in the position to do it? Because some people say the Chinese seem to have taken a no position and then leave it. It's a mess created by the United States. 解铃还须系铃人, whatever, who put the bell on the tiger's neck has to take it off. Is that China's position, or China is ready to be more proactive in your view?
No, I think China has. President, the day when the war broke out, President Xi spoke to Putin, said, they don't want to see the conflict. They don't think it's a good way to do it. And then President Xi talked to Macron, to German Chancellor Scholz, talked to President Biden. Mm-hmm. And Macron has been talking to Putin 10 times. Let's all the heads talk together. Let's set a table. I'm sure China will be happy to go to the table. Okay. You don't expect China to be the chief negotiator. Of course, China is not the starting of this, but China certainly, the way China put in on the table, it will really calm every side's down. Absolutely, you got the balance in power there. But other than that, if just let two guys fighting and then you expect them to calm down, you don't expect that. I mean, it's difficult if they are already losing their temper and fighting continuously. It's going to be very dangerous. You need a rational guy and a credible guy and economics, strong incentive guy to do that. And I think China is happy to go with 7-party talks or UNP5 plus EU and Ukraine. Let's talk. Let's sit down, and UN Secretary General can chair that roundtable. I'm sure China will be happy to participate. You don't expect China to put a table. China absolutely like to go to the table, but the moment President Xi said many times, China is willing to work with the international community to stop this war and then see the peaceful end to that. How clear can that position be? China is willing to participate and to mediate. That's already said many times.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, And then I think I share some of the thought that Bob was saying. It's but again, I as I said, this is not really a war between Russia and Ukraine, and it's really a war between Russia and NATO, basically. I mean, as also Michael just said, the U.S. doesn't want probably China to immediately intervene. So it's people in the street thinking, oh, China is a friend of Russia, or maybe can tell Putin to stop it. It's not. You got to have. It's not Ukraine or China, Russian that China can go between. It's really NATO and Russian. So really, you are right. You need when the both sides feel there's a need for that, then this middleman can be really useful because we are not directly involved into this conflict. That's really a fact. But again, I think whatever the stage of the war, but I think it has to be stopped immediately because it's really danger. I mean, we have to stop this country politics and the military tactics, on both sides. I mean, particularly, on the Russian and on the U.S. add on all the weaponry to Ukraine and the sacrifice of the of the lives of the Ukrainians, which is really a tragedy of history in mankind. So I hope that there's a new Minsk moment. If in the past, if Germany, France, and Ukraine and Russia can reach something, why not now? Let's just add more players, because it's U.S. is already directly involved now with NATO. So and add China to that to really putting some leeway and save face to the back down. So I think it's important that we need a new Minsk moment and really get this put into that. We cannot wait this war out of control before we say, okay, let's sit down. We have to sit down now and get everybody to the table and stop this immediately. Thank you.